with soaps, and I'm going to show you how to do a very simple soap today. It's called Castile soap. You've probably heard of it. It's also called olive oil soap, and you only need 3 ingredients. You need, which I use the best that you can get, but you can use like a pumice olive oil, but I use first press, cold pressed olive oil. You use distilled water. Do not use regular tap water because it'll interact with the lye. And I'm going to use a food grade lye. You can get that usually at a hardware store, but it's not food grade. You have to order the food grade. And when you're working with lye, don't freak out about it. It's not going to hurt you if you do take the proper precautions. Gloves. I always wear an apron just to protect my clothes. A mask if you're not ventilated. If you're doing it outside, you don't need a mask. Gloves or goggles. I've already measured out our distilled water, and I put it in an ice bath because when you mix the lye with the water, it causes a chemical reaction called exothermic reaction, which causes it to get really hot really quick. So within probably 10 seconds of adding lye, it's going to get up to 200 degrees. So by putting it in the ice bath and having the water already chilled, it's going to cool a lot more quickly. If you're doing a hot process soap as opposed to cold process, it's not really going to make that much difference. But since we're doing cold process, we want to bring them both to about the same temperature. Your oils and your lye mixture. I've already measured everything out. So if you have a scale, this is a trick. So you don't have to subtract the weight of your container. If you turn it on, you want to pick it's going to let me subtract it, sorry. And you turn it on, and you can pick, it goes from ounces, and then you can go to grams, but we're going to measure in ounces today. See, and it'll bring it automatically to 0. So when you add your lye, you don't have to worry about the weight of your container. Okay, so I'm going to put on my protection. So we can add I've actually made up a batch already, so it's at room temperature, but I just want to show you what it's going to do. Ready? I'm just going to turn my vent fan on low. Just stir it a little bit. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's steam already rising. And I can feel the heat through my clothes. And you always have vinegar sitting by the sink, just in case you accidentally did get lye on your hands. You just want to pour a little bit of vinegar on it. You don't want to ever put water on a lye burn, because it will just exacerbate the burn. I've been doing this for a while and I've never been burnt, so I don't worry too much about it. So we just let it stir and sit until it comes to room temperature. But like I said, I already did one already for you, so it's ready. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, now we're going to measure our oil. And I always wash everything I use with lye, that I use my lye in. I always wash it with vinegar. You really don't have to, but I'm just paranoid like that. Okay, now we're going to this is literally the simplest soap that you can make. So if you're a beginner, this is how I would start. I wouldn't start out with a hot process or anything complicated. So we're going to turn it on and set it to ounces. And for this recipe, we need 24.4 ounces of olive oil. Alright, and since they've already reached the same temperature, and when you're using lye, don't use glass because it gets so hot it will break your glass. So you want like a heavy duty plastic. And you'll see a change as soon as the oil hits the lye. Oh, another thing I forgot to tell you, always add lye to water, never water to lye. If you do that, you are going to have probably an explosion. I need a bigger. And you don't have to put fragrance in this if you don't want to, especially if you're new at it, because fragrances, whether they're essential oils or like synthetic fragrance, it can cause your blend to reach trace too quickly, or it can totally seize up, which just means you have a big hard block of goo. But this is the very first soap I made. It has no scent or anything in it, but the olive oil, and it smells really good, and it's safe for babies. A lot of people use lavender in it. I'm gonna try some jasmine in this one today. And you wanna, what's called burp your blender to get the air bubbles out. This doesn't seem to have too many in it, because if you don't, you're gonna splatter. And I'm gonna put my gloves back on just in case. The only thing about cold process is it has to cure at least 4 weeks. See how it's already starting to trace? Trace just means when it's starting to thicken. And I like it to be about the consistency of runny pudding. Can you see in there? And the way to see if you've reached traces, it'll leave a little indentation, which we've got a slight trace, but it needs to be. That's why I wear my gloves. Can I get you? We're about there. So I'm going to go ahead, when you're about to where you want to be, you want to go ahead and add your fragrance. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but you probably want to put about ½ an ounce in this recipe, which we'll put at the bottom of the attachment at the bottom of the video. I haven't used jasmine in the lavender soap yet, so we'll see. Oh yeah, that's perfect. See how it leaves the little indentation right there? And it's nice and white. Some people like to add color. I don't. I just think it's pretty the way it is. Other soaps I will add color, but for this particular soap I don't. here. Some people like a lot of fragrance, some people don't like any fragrance. My assistant, my fiance, his favorite soap is it's a goat's milk, olive oil, or Castile soap with patchouli and lavender in it. It's really unisex, but I think it smells really good on a man. I don't know. My hands are greasy. One more. Okay. Now, you can either transfer it back into like a measuring cup where you can pour it, or you can use this something to scoop it out with. That's really what I'm gonna do. Let's see if it's here, buddy. Sorry, we haven't had a child calling for us. You could use, if this is the first time you've done it, I wouldn't spend a lot of money. You can get these for like, I think at $4 for $1 at the dollar store. I'm gonna try and use these. They're actually ice cube trays, but they're silicone, so they pop right out. And you want to use, obviously, you want to use a different utensil for each thing you're doing. Because if you're, this is a vegan soap, so it would be okay, but obviously a vegan isn't going to want you to use the same utensils if you're making a goat's milk soap as if you were making a Castile soap. And this way you don't have to cut your soap. It took me a while to be good at cutting the soap into equal bars. I'm just making a small batch so you can see how easy it is, and you can try it at home. And it needs to cure overnight. I'm going to cover it with wax paper and then a like a dish towel or a cheesecloth, and you'll let it sit overnight, 24 hours, sometimes a little longer, and you'll pop it out of the mold. And then on a cold process, like I said, you need to let it cure at least 3 weeks, because if you don't, the lye is not going to have evaporated out of the soap. If you do a hot process, you're literally cooking the lye out of the soap, so you can use it within a day or 2 every month. So I'm gonna put the wax paper on it and let it sit overnight, and then we'll bring you back tomorrow and show you how it turned out.